Welcome to No One is Safe, a podcast about books, life, and where the truth can be stranger than fiction. I'm your host, Elizabeth Scozzari. Welcome back to No One is Safe. We are on episode 2 of season 3, and I cannot believe we are almost done with February. So many amazing things have happened this past month, including the book series we're going to talk about. Now, they weren't released this month. They are not published even in this year, but I have been devouring them, and it is the Devil's Night series by Penelope Douglas. Included in that is Corrupt, Hideaway, Kill Switch, Conclave, which is a novella, Nightfall, and the last one, also a novella, is Fire Night. Currently, I am reading Nightfall, so I'm not done with it yet, and that leaves that and then Fire Night to be read. So today we're only going to talk about the first 3 novels and the first novella. And let me just start out by saying these are phenomenal. They are dark romance, suspenseful, mystery, thriller, everything you want in a horror movie except in a book. It starts out with Corrupt, which is the story focusing mainly on Michael and his 3 friends that have recently gotten out of prison, Kai, Damon, and Will, as well as their relationship to Rika. Her name is Erica, but everyone calls her Rika, and for the first book and a half, I didn't know how to feel about it, and then at some point I just got really used to it, and by the end of the second book, another character called her Erica, and I was like, her name's Rika, so take that for what it's worth. But it is a really well done dual perspective time jumping book. And what I mean by that is you have the story of Rika, Michael, and his 3 friends in present day, and you have what happened, I think it was 3 years in the past. And that timeline stays kind of consistent through all of the books. The second book, Hideaway, which focuses more on Kai and his story, both leading up to going to prison and then after his release. But in flashbacks for him and in certain events, it's more like 4 or 5 years before, because time's continuing to move on from the first book. Same with the third book, Kill Switch, which focuses on Damon and Winter. It's literally my favorite, one of my favorite seasons, and for some reason I went to say something that wasn't Winter, but yes, Kill Switch focuses on Damon and Winter and their relationship and how they met, and by far it is my absolute favorite. It is my absolute favorite thus far. I wouldn't say it's by far the best. I think that they're all pretty good. So for me, if we're going to do a basketball bracket, it would be the first one, Corrupt, versus the second one, Hideaway. I would say Corrupt would win. But if you do Corrupt between Kill Switch wins. And currently Nightfall is kind of falling tied with Corrupt for me. So it would be Kill Switch, then you'd have Corrupt or Nightfall. I don't know how that's going to end up yet. And then you'd have Hideaway. So that is in terms of the books themselves, and that's based on overall story, character development, although Kill Switch has the best character development. Good on spice. I loved the spice in Corrupt and Kill Switch. Hideaway didn't quite have the same spice for me, and maybe, I don't know if it's because I liked Banks as an individual character, and I liked Kai. I loved Kai. Kai was one of my favorites in Corrupt. I actually had a really hard time picking a favorite horseman reading the first book, because all 4 men, when they're young men through their adulthood, are all referred to as the 4 horsemen. And so, I don't know, I kind of had a hard time picking a favorite one. But for the first 2 books, I was absolutely Michael, Kai, Will, my favorites. Damon, there was something about him that I wanted to love, but I couldn't bring myself to love him yet. And then by Kill Switch, which is the third one, I was all in for Damon. Kai stayed in strong second with Will, and then Michael, kind of as the books continued, became less and less of a favorited character for me. So it's just really interesting to watch all of the different character developments. You do get a very comprehensive picture of what transpired for each of these characters throughout all of these different books. They are all in all of these different books too. Even the side characters, or one that you is alluded to but you don't really know much about them, they end up becoming important in someone else's story. So that's been magnificent. I just think that like the way Penelope Douglas has crafted this series is a true thing of beauty. Like I said, I'm about halfway through Nightfall right now, and what I noticed for, and again, this is just my opinion, what I noticed for Corrupt and Nightfall, maybe Hideaway too, I had to get to about chapter like 8 to 11, depending on the book, before I was like, that light switch went off in my head that it was like, oh my God, I need to finish this entire book. I just have to consume the entire thing. I need to know what happens. Before that breaking point, I was kind of okay just reading it, you know, as I found time. Kill Switch, however, from the second I picked up that book, I was done. I just wanted to read the entire thing, and I was so sad when it was over, but I needed to read it, and I needed to read all of it. So that's kind of my mixed bag of opinions on each book as part of the greater whole. It's funny, but as a greater collective. I don't really know if I gave a great description. So the first one is Corrupt, which I said is the story of Michael and Rika. And I'm not going to read the whole back. You guys can do that for yourselves, but I will read you just like a little bit of the top part. Dreams might be a heart's desire, but nightmares are its obsession. In the first novel of a dark romance series from New York Times bestseller, author Penelope Douglas, Erica Fain knows her boyfriend's older brother is handsome, strong, and completely terrifying. That's how this one starts out. Michael Christ knows the hold he has on Rika, how much she still fears him. 3 years ago, she put Michael's friends in prison, and now they're free. Every last one of her nightmares is about to come true. It is so good. So very good. Definitely recommend this one. Again, if you like the dark romance. The second book is Hideaway, which I said is about Kai. All the twisted games are back as Devil's Night returns in this dark romance from New York Times. I was very excited to read like the top part of these, but then I realized that they all kind of just say the same thing. Buried in the shadows of the city, there's an abandoned hotel called the Pope, surrounded by a mystery about the hidden 12th floor and the guests who never checked out. Banks knows the local legend, but Kai believes the myth around the hotel. Kai's seen her hideaway. It's time for Banks to see his. So I kind of skipped like a whole bunch in there, but you get the impression that Kai is starting to get Banks' secrets. Banks is going to learn his, and before you know it, things are going to happen, and they do. Speaking of things that happen, spice level, this one has a threesome that is just scrumptious, and I never use that word, but like, mwah, loved it. Like I said, the sex in this one was okay. It wasn't great. Up next, we have Kill Switch, which like, if I could lick this book, I would. I just don't want to damage my book by licking it. I would buy a second copy though, just to lick it. I'm going to do it again, even though I just talked about not doing it. One woman's worst fear comes to life in the third novel of Devil's Night dark romance series by New York Times bestselling author Penelope Douglas. Sending Damon to prison was the worst thing Winter could have done. But she was wrong. Damon knows he needs to get rid of Winter's father, giving Winter her sister and her mother nowhere to run. As the new man of the house, he has all the keys. So I kind of skipped around through that one too, but what you get from this is exactly right. Damon is going to ruin Winter's life just to put it back together again, and oh my God, it's glorious. Like, this was one of the few books that has, I'm not going to give a spoiler here, but has one of those like tropes that sometimes people are just like, ugh, I hate that. It's one that I normally don't like, but this thing is gold. Like, I fucking loved it. Loved it. I'll air lick it because it's just like, oh, it's so good. Sex in here, also great. But even more than sex, it has amazing heart, and that is just something like the character development. Oh, oh, so good. Conclave is a novella, and I believe that you can still read this one for free on Penelope Douglas's website. It's written from two perspectives. This one is just Damon and Rika. It's one chapter, or one, like part one is his, part two is hers. And it basically just talks about like, what are we going to do about Will? Because as you find by this book, we are going to look at it. It's right here. By the time we get to this book, what happens when it's 5 against 1 and there's nowhere to run? The games are back in the thrilling final installment of New York Times bestselling author Penelope Douglas's Devil Knight series. They call it Black Church, a secluded mansion in a remote, undisclosed location where the wealthy and powerful send their misbehaving sons to cool off away from prying eyes. So you have, by the time we get through the first 3 novels and 1 novella, something has happened to Will. What is it? What are we going to do about it? And that's what we find out in Nightfall. So I am quite excited to finish this. I am very sad though, because once this is it, it means that like I only have a novella left and there's no more novels, and they're so good. So that is kind of my very discombobulated breakdown of the Devil's Night series. Really good. Overall, I would say that it is like a 4 to 4.5 star series. I think that each book is just so well thought out, and there's such great character development, and there's so much story. Yes, it's spicy. Yes, it's dirty. There's also a threesome in, we're gonna find it. There's a threesome in Kill Switch, which while overall is my favorite, the threesome in Corrupt is as far as threesomes go in this series, like Corrupt has the best one. This one is just like the best book in my humble opinion, at least. But what I like about them is that there's a lot of plot and a lot of story and a lot of development and a lot of things that tie together. It's not just smut. And there's nothing wrong with that, just to be clear. I just happen to love that it has like that horror movie, psychological thriller drama to it, while also having this romance and love story. And I particularly love a love story when it's fucked up, and all of these are like solidly fucked to different degrees, but then end up being these really beautiful, magical things. We're also talking to someone who to this day maintains that Wedding Crashers is a love story. For the longest time, people tried to tell me that it wasn't even a rom-com, it was just a comedy, and I don't stand by that. I mean, I'm sitting right now, but I absolutely stand by the fact that that is a love story, because Vince Vaughn and homegirl over there start fucking like rabbits. She tries her best to like be this person that she thought a man would want, and realizes like it's not working, I'm just going to be myself, and they fall so in love, and it's beautiful. It's perfect. I love it. They are a wonderful couple, even if she's batshit crazy and he's out of his mind, and I fucking think it's great. So yeah, that is my take on Wedding Crashers, as well as romances, and specifically the Devil's Night series. Amazing. I think if I slide, you can see like my stack of books that are coming up to read, but there's Pen Pal, Lights Out, what's the other one? Oh, The Words. Yes. There's a couple of books over there. They're not all romance or dark romance. A couple of them are thrillers and psychological thrillers, so that'll be really fun to read through. I'm also in the process of finishing the Hades and Persephone series by Scarlett St. Clair. Those are up next, so we'll talk about those in the next episode. Other than that, I don't have a no one is safe moment per se. I've been writing my ass off. I've been writing shorter novellas. I think that a novella is somewhere between like 10 to 40,000 words, and I've kind of been falling in like that 10 to 30. So I don't know. They are all based about the holidays. So far, Santa Daddy and Cupid's Arrow. Both of those have been released. I just released the book box for Luck Be a Leprechaun, which is my first sapphic romance novel or novella. And that is only available in book box right now. So it comes with an adult toy, which is actually referenced in the book too, but in like a magical way. So it's kind of neat to see like the real life version of a magical implement, so to speak. Probably should have put it in bunny ears, although bunny ears will be for next month's conversation because I am going to ruin parts of Easter for people. And so it comes with a bunch of cool trinkets, again, all from the book. I want some of them to be surprises, but there are a pack of playing cards as well as some stickers, a temporary tattoo, like things like that. So there's also a coupon code for like next month's book box if it kind of gives you enough hints. So yeah, I'm really jazzed about that. But I've also been working on my 4th novel. It will be my 3rd query ready novel by the time I'm done with it, but it will be my 4th completed novel, so that's been super fun. I think in the past 2 days I've written 15,000 words, which has been so fulfilling. And I guess where the no one is safe moment kind of can tie in here is Luck Be a Leprechaun takes place in Castle Combe, which I was fortunate enough to visit a couple of years ago, and it was such like a life-changing trip for me. I loved it. It is truly a magical place. It is beautiful. The bartender, the bar, the layout, all of that got to be included, and it was really special for me. And in my novel that I'm working on, it takes place in like an undisclosed place in the state of New York that's a college campus, but may or may not be. Very, very reminiscent of a college that yours truly went to, which, spoiler alert, I don't even think it's a spoiler alert. I'm pretty sure it says it on like at least 4 of my public profiles. I went to Quinnipiac University, which is in Hampton, Connecticut. I think in hindsight, it wasn't the right school for me as a person, but I did have a great time there, and I did make some really cool friends and a couple of people that I still talk to, and so like that was really special for me. I did learn a lot about relationships, like first romantic relationship, first time living with people that wasn't just like my mom or my grandma. So being in a house with, you know, multiple, or not a house, but being in a dorm room with like multiple people, multiple girls my own age, and like that was a learning experience both for freshman and sophomore year. And then by the time I was done being a sophomore, I had applied for res life, so I got to live alone for 2 years, which was like fucking glorious because I am a person that like I love living alone. This is me living alone, and I love it. Like, look at all of this joy, even with my super short haircut, which I don't know if we've talked about yet, but like obviously you can see the difference because it used to be down to about here, and now it's like, it used to be around here and now it's here. Like, it doesn't even, I can do this. I probably just made a mess of myself. Anyway, so like I love living alone. I always have, and I probably always will to a certain extent. And so it was definitely a learning experience of watching people form really close bonds, getting to like see how those developed, and all of that I got to pull inspiration for this novel from those experiences. And there are some parts of the campus that's in my novel that I'm working on that are definitely reminiscent of like leaving the cap and heading up toward the English building, which I can't remember the name of it now. I think it was actually like the Arts Center. I don't remember, but like that small trail through the woods, like there's a couple of things of that nature. And so yeah, those 2 experiences in my life definitely have fed into my writing, but I think it's a testament to being open to things like traveling, exploring. Like, I did not want to go away for college. I didn't want to go to college at all, actually. I wanted to be a waitress. I wanted to be a waitress. Before I wanted to be a waitress, I wanted to be a Hooters girl. Before I wanted to be a Hooters girl, I wanted to be a cage stripper because I remembered watching Independence Day, and there's that scene where she's dancing in a cage, and I was just like, oh my God, I want to grow up and dance in a bird cage. Like, that's what I want to do. Unfortunately for me, when I was in college, nobody told me that I was hot enough to be a stripper, and so now I missed the boat. Like, I missed the boat on that. Like, nobody told me I was hot, and I look back at pictures and I'm like, I would have been far more than a Tuesday special. And that's not insulting to anyone who actually is a stripper on Tuesdays. That's just taking, unfortunately, talk about learning experiences. The last group of friends I had, I think would call the unattractive women Tuesday specials. I don't remember now because I don't remember a ton of like that stuff. I try to make room for other stuff in my brain. But yeah, I would have been a great stripper, I think, at least in terms of being hot. I don't really know if I have the dance skills or the rhythmic skills for that. I'm getting way off track, and I'm trying to keep this concise so I don't have to edit, because I'm obviously in a different place today than normal. I'm using my phone instead of my laptop setup. It's just a matter of time and space, and we're making the best out of it, right? So getting back on track, I didn't want to go to college, and my mom was like, listen, I brought you into this world, you owe me 1 year. So I went to Quinnipiac. I think it's a great school. I think it's the right school for a lot of people. I just, in hindsight, I don't know if that was me, but it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, it afforded me this amazing opportunity to learn so much about myself, about other people. I met people that I still hold in my heart. I actually, one of the girls I met on Res Life, I was just talking about her the other day. Her birthday was recently, and the way I described her to my boyfriend was, we might not talk all the time. We don't even talk very often. Like, sporadically, we'll just send each other shit on Instagram. But she's the kind of person that if I saw her call me, I would pick up the phone and be like, what do you need? Whose body do we need to bury? What are we doing? I'm here. But alternatively, if I called her and left her an overly detailed voicemail, as I've been known to do, she would call me back and be like, where's this body? What are we doing? And like, we probably haven't seen each other in like 10 years. Then that's no joke. I think I graduated college 10 years ago, maybe 13 at this point. I don't know, maybe 15. What year are we in? Irrelevant. Anyway, so yeah, that just like, I'm very grateful for that. But those kind of being open to those kind of things, like going to college or going to travel abroad or far away, or even just like seeing things out of your everyday life, all of those contribute to your experiences as a writer. I mean, I went to the coffee shop the other day, and I am sure as shit I could find a whole slew of books with this trope, but one of the girls who I've become friendly with over there, she just moved in to her very first apartment with her boyfriend's best friend. Like, they're sharing an apartment. It literally writes itself as like a romance, either a behind closed door romance, a fluffy romance, a kissing romance. I think that's what those are called. I don't remember. A really smutty romance, a erotic. It doesn't fucking matter. You could write a bajillion books about it. So you just have to be willing to try things. And I guess that's what my no one is safe moment is, that no one is safe just staying home doing nothing. You'll die slowly. Your whole soul will just disintegrate. But if you get out there and you do some cool shit, you can find yourself in a story, either one you write or that someone writes because they met you. So yeah, that is my very short episode for today. I think I nailed it. If I didn't, I'm sure someone will tell me, probably myself, but anyone else is welcome too. Please, please, please do not forget to check out my book boxes on elizabethscozzari.com. I'm going to try to put that right here. elizabethscozzari.com. But check out my book boxes, check out my, see, I fucked it up. I touched it. I was doing so good. But check out my novellas, book boxes. There are ebooks. And just remember that at the end of the day, we all have to get off the ride at some point. So go out there and live your life, because if you don't, then you are not safe from yourself. And if you get out there, you're not safe from a writer. So that's it. Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much for listening to No One Is Safe. This podcast means so much to me. If you've enjoyed it, please consider liking, subscribing, sharing, and leaving a review wherever you listen to your podcast. For more content or more information on me, please please follow my Instagram page at Elizabeth Scozzari Author and check out my website, elizabethscozzari.com. Thank you so much again, and go out and have a wonderful day. See you next week.